About 4 Sundays ago, at around 9 in the evening, I sat back from my laptop with a cup of coffee going cold next to me. And I looked at something that hadn't existed 48 hours earlier. A live online business, a real one, with a name, a website, an offer, a working payment link, all of it built between Friday night and Sunday night. By me, a 52-year-old woman with a full-time job and teenage twins. And I'm telling you this not to impress you, because honestly, if you told me a few years ago that this was even possible, I wouldn't have believed you either. I'm telling you because I spent almost 4 years believing that starting something real took months of preparation. And I was wrong about that in a very specific and very expensive way. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what happened that weekend. Hour by hour, decision by decision, including the parts where I doubted myself. Because I think once you see how this actually works, the whole idea of what it takes to start is going to shift for you the way it shifted for me. Hello. Hi. I'm Jenny. Welcome to The Bold Biz. I help women over 40 build online side businesses without the hustle, without the burnout, and without trying to be 25 again. If that's you, please hit subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Okay, so let me set the scene, because this story actually starts with me feeling stuck, which I think is important to say out loud. It was a Friday night in early June, and I went to bed feeling a little bit lost. My main brand was doing fine, but I had this restless feeling of, what's next? What's the next step? And I couldn't see it. And if you've ever had that feeling where you're working hard, but you can't quite see the path forward, you know it's not a nice feeling to fall asleep with. So, Saturday morning, I woke up, made my coffee, and instead of doing what I would normally do, which is open my social media and scroll myself into a worse mood, or just spend hours on or spend time on YouTube, I sat down and decided to run a thought experiment with Claude, which is the AI tool I use for pretty much everything in my business. And I asked it something really simple. I said, pretend I don't have any of my existing businesses, knowing everything you know about me, my skills, my background, my limited time. What would you suggest I start today as a 52-year-old woman? And it came back with 10 suggestions. And most of them were decent, but 2 of them genuinely lit me up. Like, I felt it physically, that little spark of, ooh, wait, that could actually work. So I kept going. I spent that Saturday morning going back and forth with Claude. How could this work? What could it look like a year from now? How would it fit around my job and my family? What would I actually sell? And to whom? And why would they even buy from me? And by lunchtime, I had landed on it. A service business helping coaches and consultants with the tech side of their online businesses. Setting up their funnels, their email automations, setting up their funnels, but it don't matter. A service business helping coaches and consultants with the tech side of their online businesses, setting up their funnels, their email automations, their lead magnets, all the stuff that most coaches find overwhelming, and that I happen to genuinely love doing, because I've been living inside these tools for almost 4 years, and I'm a graphic designer by trade. Now here's the part of the story where the past me would have made a huge mistake. So I want to slow down here. Past me would have taken that exciting idea and started researching. She would have spent 2 weeks studying competitors. She would have made a logo, remade the logo 10 more times, asked her family which logo they liked better. She would have planned a content strategy, drafted a business plan, and somewhere around week 6, the excitement would have quietly died. And the idea would have joined all the other ideas in the folder of things that never happened. In the folder of things that never happened. I know this about myself because I did exactly that, over and over and over. So this time, I did something different. Before I let myself get carried away, I ran the idea through 4 simple filters. Do I have the skills for this? Honestly, today, not after another course. Do I have the time to deliver it around my actual life? Does it give me energy when I think about it? Or does it drain me? And is there momentum? Meaning, are there real people out there actively looking for this? And this idea passed all 4 of my filters. Skills, yes. 5 years in the platform, 4 years in the platform and a design background. Time, yes, because the service I'd offer can be delivered in a focused block. Blah, blah, blah. And this idea passed all 4. Skills, yes. 4 years on the platform and with a design background. Time, yes, because the service I'd offer can be delivered in focused blocks around a day job. Energy, absolutely yes. I could talk about this stuff for a year for free. And momentum, also yes, because coaches are everywhere and most of them are drowning in tech they never wanted to learn in the first place. 4 filters, 4 yeses, no more excuses. So Saturday afternoon, I made the decision. Not the decision to think about it, the decision to build it that weekend, before the spark had had a chance to cool down. So here's what Sunday looked like. And I want to be really concrete here, because this is the part that would have sounded impossible to me a few years ago. Sunday morning, coffee number 1, I bought the domain name. That took about 10 minutes. And I want to point out that buying the domain did something psychological. It made it real. There was now a small amount of money on the table and a name that existed in the world. Then I set up a simple funnel, 1 landing page explaining the offer, 1 thank you page, 1 order page with a working payment link, and a basic email automation behind it all. And I used the same tools I always use. Nothing fancy, nothing I had to learn from scratch that day. Then brand colors and a simple logo. And this is where being a designer could have been my downfall, honestly, because I could have spent 3 weeks on the logo alone. I gave myself an hour. I picked colors that felt right, made a clean, simple logo, and made a rule for myself that I was not allowed to touch it again for at least a month. Done is a decision. Done is a decision, and I decided it was done. And by Sunday evening, it was all live. A real business on the internet with a real offer that a real person could buy right there and then. Built in 1 weekend. At my kitchen table with coffee and an AI assistant and a whole lot of deciding not to overthink. Now I can hear the question forming because I would have asked it too. Jenny, isn't that reckless? Shouldn't you plan more? Doesn't rushing lead to mistakes? And here's my honest answer, and it comes from experience on both sides of this. On both sides of this question. In January this year, I launched a completely different brand, a Swedish one, helping women in Sweden get out of debt. I'm not going to name it because it's paused right now, but I want to tell you about it because it taught me the lesson that made the weekend build possible. I ran that brand for 5 months. I put real money into it. I put real evenings into it. And after 5 months, I made the honest call that it wasn't the right fit for me at the time. And I paused it. And here's the thing. That wasn't a failure. That was 5 months of real information, real market feedback, testing ads as well, real skills sharpened, a real answer to a question I'd been carrying around. But here's what I noticed when I looked back at it. The value of that experiment came from the doing, not from the planning. Every single thing I learned after launch. From real people responding to real things I'd put into the world. All the planning I did beforehand taught me almost nothing. Because plans don't get feedback. Only real things do. So when the new idea showed up in June, I already knew the math. Months of planning buys you almost no information. 1 weekend of building buys you everything. A live thing in the world that real people can respond to. And if it turns out to be wrong, you find out in weeks instead of years, having spent a weekend instead of a season of your life. Building fast isn't reckless. Building fast is how you make learning cheap. Overthinking is what is expensive. It just hides the invoice. And that's exactly why I turned that weekend into something you can follow yourself. It's called the Weekend Builder Guide. It's called the Weekend Builder. It's a free guide. It's called the Weekend Builder Guide. And it's the exact 48-hour plan from Friday evening to Sunday night, broken into time blocks that take you from an idea in your head to a live offer page with a real sales page, a working payment link, and your first 5 people contacted. It's $17 and the link is the very first thing in the description below. And I want to be clear about who this is for. It's for you if you've had an idea or even half an idea and you've been circling it for months or years waiting to feel ready. It won't make your business perfect in a weekend. Nothing can. What it does is get you to the starting line, real, live, in the world where the actual learning can begin. So let me land the plane with the one thing I'd want you to take away from this whole story. The version of me who built a business in 1 weekend was not braver than the version who circled ideas for years. She wasn't smarter, she didn't have more time, and she definitely didn't feel more ready. The only difference was that she had finally learned that clarity doesn't come before you start. It comes because you start. Friday night, I felt stuck. Sunday night, I had a live new business. The distance between those two feelings was 1 weekend and 1 decision. If this episode resonated with you, please hit subscribe and ring the bell. New videos, new episodes every Thursday for second chapter women who are ready to build something real without burning out. And if this is your weekend, grab the Weekend Builder Guide linked in the description. Until next time, stay bold, ladies.